Hello and welcome back. This is David from the Personal Finance Squad. We are in auto insurance video number 3. Let's get into medical payments. So we see again here, policies have options for medical coverage. It applies to the policyholder, but also for family members and guests if they're injured in the car. So unfortunately, we've had the example of me getting broadsided. If my brothers are in the car with me, there might be some coverage in there for them. So you can see here as well, medical coverage can apply when in the insured, which would be, let's say, me in this case, is driving, or when in another car if an injury occurs. So if an injury occurs, bicycling, walking, even if the policyholder is not at fault, it could be coverage, right? Or the bike comes out and hits me. So coverage can last a few years or more after an accident, but it depends on the amount of coverage purchased in accordance to the auto insurance company's policies. And then a big caveat here is that payments may be reduced in the event that a policyholder receives compensation from other areas of the policy from other sources. So what they're saying is, we're saying there that liability provides compensation. So that means, let's say liability, loose interpretation, covered $10,000, and then your total amount that you needed was $12,000. So the medical picks up $2,000. Policies are designed so they cover the total amount, not exceeding the amount itself of what the actual claim needs to be. Otherwise, everybody who got in an accident could get money from collision liability, comprehensive, medical, and that wouldn't work. It wouldn't be a good business model. So another important thing, and check your policy to see if any additional medical coverage is needed in case other areas of the policy are insufficient. So again, your agents should be able to tell you you have enough coverage in maybe the liability area that we feel it's sufficient enough. You don't have to worry about the medical side if you don't need medical, or if you have medical, you could keep it to a lower amount because we feel that the numbers in here in most cases are going to cover what is needed in the event there's a claim. Okay, the next area in here is umbrella policies. This is my really horrible drawing of an umbrella, and we want to put the word liability in here. An umbrella policy covers above and beyond auto and homeowners insurance liability coverage. So if you have homeowners and auto with the same company, then an umbrella policy can apply to this. So what we're saying here is that this coverage kicks in when the liability has been exhausted in the other policies. So if I had a policy for $1 million, I'm sued for $500,000, but I only had $400,000, then the umbrella policy would kick in and cover the remaining $100,000. And again, it also may cover items outside auto and homeowners policies such as bodily injury, personal injury. So this is another option. Umbrella policies, I'm not saying that's not necessarily standard that people get them. You might just have enough coverage that you feel in your liability policy that way you don't have to have an additional coverage in there, because then that policy itself, that's considered a separate policy, is another cost to you. And right here, I just pointed this out, but you should note that many insurance companies will not offer an umbrella policy unless the policyholder is some home and auto together, and require certain deductibles within those policies. It's very common that any insurance company that has a homeowners and an auto policy is known as a dual. It's like a dual policy, right? Discount, because obviously you're giving them more business, and everybody else is offering that discount, so they all do the same. On the whole, the umbrella policy isn't very much expensive relative to the full insurance cost for auto and homeowners for that matter in some cases, but again, that's a thing that you need to figure out, and I myself do not have an umbrella policy. I feel my coverages are pretty good. Okay, uninsured motorists. So as we said that having auto insurance is required, it doesn't mean everyone has it or it lapsed by somebody else for whatever reason. So that can be a little sticky. So right here you can see, although most states require auto insurance, not everyone on the road has it. There's an area within automobile policies for the uninsured or underinsured motorists that provides protection for family members who live in the same household and who are hurt by one of these types of drivers. Because you're saying, hey man, I got hit by an uninsured driver. How am I going to get paid? How am I going to get coverage for everything that weren't my fault? So you can see that's why there's uninsured or underinsured coverage that is highly recommended to be included in the policy. Again, this is part of standard policy, meaning these things are often built into one of your other coverages, and if not, they'll let you know about it. So a lot of times when you look at a policy, you're going to see some of these things in here, and you're going to see a lot of these numbers floating around going, there's coverage for this, there's coverage for that. You'll get used to looking at it, and it's more about that point to make sure you have what you should have, like I have been saying, and understanding the price you're paying for all of it. So just understanding an uninsured motorist. This type of coverage can apply when the policyholder is in the car while walking, bicycling, just like that other case. Hit and run accidents are a really good example. You hear about that, especially, again, I hate to say this, but in places where people have less of an income, generally speaking, there's a better chance they may not have insurance, more the poor communities. Doesn't mean that's necessarily true, it's just probably more prevalent. And again, most of the time this coverage is when someone gets hurt. And remember, the other driver has to be at fault. If you're at fault, then apply to an uninsured motorist because they didn't do anything wrong. Okay, now we're going to get into gap insurance. Gap insurance is protection for when your car is stolen or it's totaled. Totaled means it's beyond repair. It's going to cost more to fix it than what the car is worth. So that means you would not have a car anymore. And that also means if there's money owed on the car outside of what it's worth, you would owe that money. So let's look into this a little bit. So what we see with gap insurance is exactly what it means. There's a gap between what is owed on the car and what it's actually worth. So let's just say you have an unfortunate incident. Your car has $24,000 owed on it by you, but it's only worth $20,000. So now if the car ends up being totaled, that means you don't have a car anymore, but you would owe this money. So this $24,000 here, less the $20,000, leaves $4,000. And that right here is the gap. So now when you have the insurance, this means they would cover this $4,000. Now, companies like Liberty Mutual offer it. That's one of their selling points for their company of what they provide over other companies, for example. But you can certainly pay for this in other policies. On the whole, it's not a very big cost to the premium to have the gap insurance. A good reason to get gap insurance is if you owe a lot of money on the car, which means more than likely the car is newer. Remember, a brand new car driven off the lot could lose 20% as soon as you go down the block. On a luxury car, it's even more, probably more in the neighborhood of 30%. Right off the bat, if you crash that car, figuratively speaking, you'd have a gap. So gap insurance does not cost too much on the policy, so it's something to consider. You should certainly ask when you have your policy premium and see what it does for you. Now again, if you have an older car, the value is much lower and you're not going to probably run into that problem with the gap, but you can certainly get it. That is up to you. But it just shows you the value of having it, and in some cases, it can work out well. For the most part, the odds of your car getting stolen or totaled are very low. So you need to think about what works for you, maybe depending on where you live, or if you are buying a new car that has a lot of money owing and you want that protection. Okay, so that's going to finish it up for gap insurance. And in the next section, we're going to get into knowing the rules of the policy. We appreciate you joining, and we will see you in the next video.